So the VA made a commitment to Congress, required that in implementing the new appeals system, VA would not forget about the hundreds of thousands of veterans still awaiting resolution and the legacy appeals process. And I'm happy to see that the VA has drastically reduced the number of appeals pending from what was originally around 400,000 to, I think you said in your testimony today, around 135,000 as the first quarter of FY21 concluded. However, the VA set a goal to resolve all of its legacy appeals by the end of 2022, and we are aware that COVID has had an impact. What is the new timeline that you anticipate, and is VA on track to meet this deadline?
So thank you, Chairwoman Luria. We don't have the timeline yet. We're working to set that. The delay in exams and records is impacting the VA's ability to complete those legacy remands and return those to the board. Currently, the board has approximately 102,000 legacy appeals that we are working through very quickly with our strong staff, and we are hiring more staff, as I noted. Additional judges are joining us, along with other staff. So right now what we are doing is we're assessing with budget and our current staffing, and that 22 budget that we asked for plays a huge role in this piece. And it will enable us to meet and set a new timeline, probably sometime in 2023 to work on those legacy appeals. However, I do want to announce today that the new judges who will be joining the board will be primarily working AMA appeals along with their staffs. Everybody will be handling hearings. I'm sure I'll address hearings later in this discussion, but all of the new judges will be assigned to AMA work, as will their teams, and we believe that there's efficiencies in that, and that's really following something that GIO had advised us previously, and we weren't able to do it with the size of our staff at that time or our workload. We can now do that. So we have to tell you to stay tuned for a timeline.
Well, thank you, and I am encouraged with the addition of the 20 new judges that we can help work through these claims more quickly for our veterans who have been waiting. I just wanted to follow up as well for Mr. Burke. We had an oversight hearing back in March on CMP exam delays. So I wanted to follow up and know what the VBA is doing to prioritize exam schedules for veterans who are working through appeals. These veterans in many instances have been waiting years for a decision, and I was curious to understand if they were receiving prioritization in the CMP exam process.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. You know, in the VBA side of the house, we have resolved the legacy appeal inventory by more than 87%. We would have been a little further along had it not been for the impact of COVID. And to your point, ma'am, some of the impact and challenges relative to the exam process. We are working with our VHA partners. We are working with our vendors, challenging them to increase their exam output. We're starting to see the benefit of that increased flow of exams, and those related to remands are being prioritized. I would add we are about 200 cases away from being below 29,000 on the overall remand inventory at VBA. To that end, I think it's important to highlight that today only 13% of that inventory is actionable, meaning only 13% of that 29,000 inventory has completed exams and can take action. Most importantly, I would just stress the importance of clarifying that even within that 13%, not all of those cases will go back to the board, as a portion of that inventory will be resolved appeals. So it's a rather lean inventory. Our timeline has moved into 2023 for resolution, but we are prioritizing and working with all stakeholders on increased exam completions.
Well, thank you, Mr. Burke, for the update, which is encouraging. I wanted, in the time remaining, to go back to Ms. Mason. And can you speak on what information or modeling you relied on to establish the processing goals for the board's evidence docket, which is 550 days, and the hearing docket, which is 730 days or 2 years under the new appeals systems? I noticed that these goals are more than double the time it took for these decisions in 2020. I was curious, do you find it reasonable for a veteran to have to wait 2 years when choosing this option?
I don't find it reasonable for a veteran to have to wait very long for a decision. Unfortunately, with our workload and our docket rules in the law, we must follow those. So we looked at our whole workload and what we were projecting. We're now projecting over 17% or about 17% of AMA appeals into the board. And so we use those numbers for modeling to set our objectives for those 3 lanes. But no, I don't agree that I would like to see it much shorter. My vision is I would like to be able to hold hearings within 6 months and get decisions out the door shortly thereafter. I don't have the resources to do that at this time.
Well, thank you. And I hope to continue the conversation. And you did mention the budget that request that was submitted. So want to continue the conversation to understand how supporting that budget can help the VA move these through more quickly. And I know that I've exceeded my time. So I am going to now recognize Mr. Nels for 6 minutes, because I know I went over as well.